All righty, let's bring in trial attorney Richard Roth here as we talk about the defense's case. Hi, Richard. How are you?
Hi, Christy. Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. But I wanted to ask you, first off, a couple of things about what we just heard from the defense attorney, where they were talking about that Kelly created this fictitious daughter, that Buick was taunting their client. Clearly, they're trying to blame the victims. Here's the thing. The only person I can remember who got up on the stand and kind of acted like a character witness for the victims who are dead, who can't speak for themselves, obviously, was one of the victims' mother, was Kelly's mother. Otherwise, we didn't have anybody up there saying, they didn't do this, we never saw that, they didn't mean it. The fact that there was nobody speaking on behalf of those victims, even though I know that they weren't on trial, but to kind of try to dismiss the defense's theory that he was taunted into this and therefore it was a heat of passion crime, the fact that nobody spoke for them or gave accounts of them being other than what they're painting, how much does that help the defense?
Well, that's a very good question. The bottom line here is that the prosecutor didn't really focus on the victim, the relationship, and the background information about the victim. It does help the defense. However, the prosecutor is focusing very much on the acts and the time sequence. For example, Mr. Warren bought the gun 6 weeks before the actual murder. Mr. Warren told his kids and other people he wanted to kill his wife. There was a time period between the time that he actually shot and killed Mr. Buick and that he went in and then killed his wife. So there's a lot of indicia, evidence, if you will, somewhat circumstantial and somewhat direct, which could lead a jury to conclude that there's no heat of passion defense, that it was calculated, it was premeditated, and you really can't show any sudden and sufficient provocation here. So the prosecutor is really relying exclusively on the timetable and what happened from February up through April.
Okay, let's talk about some of the witnesses straight through. First of all, Linda Martin, his therapist. Did she make any headway for the defense, do you think?
Yes, she was great, because what she did was she essentially spoke to the jury almost as if she was the defendant. She said he had major depression disorder, he was crying all the time, he didn't have his medication, and what they're trying to show, in order to get away from this murder one conviction, they're trying to show that it's a little bit unusual, that in fact it led up, that all of this emotion and frustration and crying and depression led up to finally him just exploding. And I think she was great because she actually assisted almost as if she was speaking as the defendant, saying that this took a while and eventually he just lost it and he went in there and it was a crime of passion defense. So she, I thought, was very helpful to defend it. Okay,
what about his boss at Sears? I'm going to play a little bit of sound from him here where he talks about the shift that he saw in Patrick Warren.
I had to have a conversation with him, and when I did try to have the conversation with him, his job was failing basically. He was very emotional. I could not talk to him about it. He kept putting his hand up like that to me, that he couldn't speak, and I had asked him that he needed to take care of his personal life or whatever was going on that had nothing to do with the store to seek help.
So we have her testimony. We have the testimony from the kids about how upset he was and how he kind of was deteriorating into this depression. Does that not help support in some way kind of a gradual sense that he was losing it and therefore could have fully snapped in that moment?
That's exactly right. What normally happens in these heat of passion defenses is a spouse walks in, sees another spouse in the bedroom with someone else, and then just loses it. And you don't have that here. So what they're trying to do is show a gradual, he started off as a stellar employee, he was great at Sears, and he slowly but steadily deteriorated. And what they're trying to show is a gradual, essentially losing it by the defendant. So he's crying at work, he's upset at work, he can't handle life, and he buys a gun, and finally, when he goes in, this sudden and sufficient provocation is a tough it's tough for the it's tough for the defense because it wasn't sudden, but he's trying to show that they're trying to show that it just was so gradual, he was so depressed that he finally just lost it. And that's the defense of the first-degree murder charge. It's the only way to do it in this instance because there's a lot of indicia, a lot of facts which don't support that defense and which support a murder one conviction.
Sure, sure. That should support that premeditation, certainly. Richard Roth, thank you so much. Richard's going to stick with us. We have a lot more to talk to him about in the next hour. So thanks, Richard.